Hello, welcome to Unit 1, Lesson 2 of Medieval Music History. Today we're covering Ars Antiqua and Ars Nova. So what is Ars Antiqua? As you've seen on the pictures of the first slide, those look like some pretty old pictures, right? So Ars Antiqua takes place from 1170 to 1300 Common Era. Ars Antiqua means ancient art in Latin. Ars Antiqua was characterized by early polyphony, primarily vocal chants, and more complex rhythmic patterns based on rhythmic modes with an emphasis on liturgical function. So we're seeing a shift away from the Gregorian chant, where there is no backing. It's very monotonous or monotony. So just one singular line, not really a whole lot of harmony going on, no rounding, just one single melody. But still the emphasis on liturgical functions for Catholic Mass, public worship, whatever, right? Primarily composed in France. Some Ars Antiqua composers are Leonin and Periton. Those are the main ones we're going to get into today just because it was such a long time ago that we don't really have a whole lot of information about these composers, but these two are some of the most notable. Ars Antiqua was a coined term at the Notre Dame School of Polyphony in the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris, France. And secular music, so at the time not Catholic or Christian, could not be considered, and to this day is not considered Ars Antiqua. So while there's plenty of polyphonic music from this era that might not be considered religious, and even built from the same or similar rhythmic modes, it is not considered part of Ars Antiqua, as that music is reserved polyphonic Catholic music. So this guy here is Leonin. This painting is old. And this is a picture of the Notre Dame Cathedral in France. So Leonin was born in 1135 in Paris, France. He is the first known composer of polyphonic organum, the earliest known member of the Notre Dame School of Polyphony, and he's estimated to have worked in the Notre Dame Cathedral. His most notable work is the Great Book of Organa, and it's estimated that he died around 1201. Periton, we know even less about him. It's believed that he was born in 1160 or around 1160 in Paris, France. Um, he is believed to have introduced four-part polyphony, and he is often credited with its influence on Western music. Less is known about Periton, less than Leonin even. Um, with Leonin, we know that he was very involved with the Notre Dame Cathedral. With Periton, it's estimated that he also lived and worked in Paris. Music historians guess that, like Leonin, he probably worked at the Notre Dame Cathedral. However, he was not confirmed. He's not a confirmed member of the School of Polyphony. His four-part polyphonies were considered revolutionary at this time, as most polyphonic music was just two parts. Periton's two most notable four-part polyphonies are Viderunt and Cederunt. There is speculation that there is a third four-part polyphony from this era called Mors, but this is just speculation. It hasn't been proven. And historians speculate that he died around 1238. We don't know for sure, and we speculate that he died in Paris, France. So what is Ars Nova? Ars Nova is medieval Latin for new art. Ars Nova takes place during the 14th century, so 1300 to 1399 Common Era. It contained more challenging rhythms. Ars Nova saw more divided note values, both duple and triple. We start moving away from certain harmonies and note patterns being seen as satanic. Um, so musicians and theorists are given a lot more creative liberty when writing music during this time. The development of new musical notation systems, particularly in the use of smaller note values, more precise rhythmic indications. Ars Nova composers began to explore and develop polyphonic textures, so we're seeing a move and a push more towards the 3 and 4 part and even more difficult rhythms. Um, And Ars Nova music is allowed to be secular. While Ars Nova music, Catholic music is Ars Nova from that time, like it could be considered Ars Nova. The music of Ars Nova itself does not have to be Catholic or liturgical for public worship. So, some famous composers from Ars Nova. Felipe de Vietri. We know that he is born October 31st, 1291 in Paris, France. And in addition to being a composer, Felipe was also a music theorist and a poet. Vitry studied at the Sorbonne, which was originally the University of Paris, which later disbanded in 1970. And he was ordained as a deacon at a young age. I don't have an age at this time. When I was looking to make this PowerPoint, I couldn't get an exact answer, but I do know that we do know that he was ordained as a deacon very young. Vitry was considered a leading intellectual of his time. Most of Vitry's musical output was lost, judging from the many references to his motets that appear in the treatise. The extant pieces were published by Leo Schrad in Prolific Music of the 14th Century, Volume 1, and that was published in 1956. So these are pieces of music that we speculate are Felipe de Vitry's, but we don't know for sure. Felipe de Vitry died on June 9, 1361 in Meaux, France. And then I could not find a picture of this guy, but he is a notable composer specifically for his motets. So we know that he's born around 1300 in Macau, France. This is Guillaume, excuse me if I butcher his name, Guillaume de Macau. And we know that he's born in 1300 in Macau, France. Macau was a French musician and a poet. Macau took holy orders from the Pope and in 1323 entered the service of John of Luxembourg, King of Bohemia. In 1337, he became the canon of Reims Cathedral, and Macau is not regarded as much of a unique poet for his time. He often wrote of love and other widely written topics, and his most notable poem, or piece of work in general, is Bordeaux. And Bordeaux is about a older poet, much older, like we're talking a man in his 30s falling in love with a teenage girl who is of nobility, and the work is from the girl's perspective, and she, in the perspective, I guess, falls in love with him as well. And it's about the torment that they go through, and yeah. And then he wrote a lot of 3 and 4 part motets. 17 of those are strictly in French. 2 of them are Latin mixed with French, and 4, like a lot of the religious motets of the early 13th century, are in Latin. So for the end of this presentation, what I want you to do is reflect and answer these following questions, and then do the hypothesis at the end. And how I want you to do that is take the questions, answer them, and email me the answers to each question. But I'll read them off to you real quick, and feel free to go back through the video if you missed any of the information. So who were the first known composers, or who was the first known composer of polyphonic organum? Where did Leonin and Periton work? Speculated. In addition to being a composer, what were de Vitry's other careers? What years does Ars Antiqua take place? What years does Ars Nova take place? Why is Macau not considered a unique poet and composer? And is Ars Antiqua secular music? And for the hypothesis, because we're now moving on into the Renaissance, how do you think Ars Antiqua and Ars Nova influenced the music of the Renaissance, the music, the art, everything? Write those down, email me the answers. Thank you for viewing. Have a good day.